If you click on this video, you're probably thinking that I'm going to be talking about the low-hanging fruit or quick fixes like drop shipping. However, that is not going to be the case. If you stick around to the end of this video, we'll be giving you 3 concrete ways that you can go about setting up your lifestyle in order to become a digital nomad, or at least have that option. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel where we talk about how to live better through economics. Let's jump right into today's video. Now, one of the reasons why I quit my banking job and the sector in general was that it is highly location dependent. Now, if you are not fully aware, banking is one of the most, if not the most, regulated sectors in the world, especially after what happened in 2008. And personally, I worked at a relatively domestic focused UK bank that didn't allow me to work anywhere outside the country itself. Now, this is not unique to that particular bank. Across various companies within the banking industry, typically that is not allowed. And the other reason, of course, is to be able to choose a place that actually suited me. And in this case, ever since moving to the most expensive city in the world, I've experienced much less hostility, much more positivity that you commonly see in the West. But I won't get into it too much because after all, this is YouTube and there is enough content on this topic. So if you came to this video, you're probably also thinking along similar lines. And that is why, in order of feasibility, we are going to discuss 3 ways to become a digital nomad in 2024. So the easiest way that you can go about doing this is, of course, to find hybrid jobs with teleworking options. Now, hear me out. You might think that hybrid means you're still fixed to a location. You might still have to go into an office. But the bottom line is, while a lot of us like to shit on a 9 to 5, most of us work at a 9 to 5, and there is absolutely no shame in that. In fact, it is a lower risk way of becoming a digital nomad because ultimately all your revenues or all your income is contracted. That means you get a fixed amount of income every month, so you know exactly what you're getting, you know exactly what you can spend in your new location. Now, why I mentioned the idea of going hybrid rather than full remote is because with the reopening after the pandemic, full remote roles have been much harder to find. But hybrid roles with teleworking options could prove to be quite an enticing option. Why? Because not only would you be able to have the option of maybe taking shorter trips out abroad or even teleworking from abroad, you'll also be able to fix the problem that you might associate with loneliness because there's ultimately still an office to return to, well, at least if you like your colleagues. The other reason why I bring this up is because most globally present companies offer this type of flexible working benefit, including hybrid working, perhaps 1 to 3 days a week in the office, and teleworking benefits, for example, a maximum of 20 days spent abroad with teleworking. Now, this is, of course, a way for them to retain talent, with what I mentioned earlier on being typical arrangements. And if you look at this on a 5-day work week basis, this actually works out to be pretty much an entire month abroad. That is assuming 20 days without even having to resort to things like annual leave, which will give you probably another month and a half, or complicated VPN setups to mask your IP from your employer, which of course is always a highly risky thing that you might have seen on digital nomad forums. These kinds of jobs span a wide range of sectors, so you don't necessarily need to be in tech. You can find this kind of job in relationship management, software development, of course, in the startup environment, marketing, and even some finance jobs if they are less of the regulated sort. So that was the first one on the list: hybrid jobs with teleworking options. The second one on our list would, of course, be the full remote job. Now, this is slightly harder because, well, people are trying to get more and more of their employees back into the office. So this is largely limited to companies with very decentralized teams. Now, it's important to note that decentralized teams not only apply to startups with people all over the world. I've seen this going on in finance companies as well, especially if they are serving clients in different regions and have different parts of the same team located across the globe. Nonetheless, this is slightly less feasible today with the whole return to office. However, in terms of the sectors most likely to offer full remote, this will include things like technology companies, and of course, how can we forget those working in crypto? That is likely to be fully decentralized as well, and therefore fully remote. Personally, I pretty much stumbled into it with crypto, but that mileage may vary for yourself. In order to score something like this, not only should you check that the listing is for a remote role, but you might also want to check whether your team is spread out across the globe. Just ask those questions in the interview process to figure out where everyone is, so you can kind of get a gauge on whether you're likely to be allowed to do such a thing. Finally, let's move on to the hardest one on the list, and the third one on the list is the most difficult to set up in a stable and sustainable way, and that is a business with any sort of digitally deliverable product. This could include an AI-enabled copywriting agency, which I have used before. It could also include what is becoming really popular, which is becoming a content creator and then selling courses. Obviously, this is really speculative and takes way longer to build, and therefore is slightly less feasible to most. Now, in terms of this business point, you might also want to try different business models. You could do things like events in various countries. You could even do classics like dropshipping. But of course, as with everything, the lower the barrier to entry, the higher the competition. So do take note of that before you try to go all in on one idea without having a stable source of income on the side to back that up. So that brings me on to the final takeaway. Why not have a combination of any of these three? This will make sure that you at least have some contracted revenue coming in the door, and depending on how good you are at your day job, starting a side hustle and climbing the career ladder need not be mutually exclusive. What do you think? Have you become a digital nomad yourself, or are you looking to do so, incorporating travel into your day-to-day working life? If you like this video, do remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to this channel. Now, if you haven't seen a previous video on why I chose this particular country to stay in, then you're going to want to check out this video here. With all that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.